In ancient times, travelers to Australia, when they saw an amazing jumping creature, asked the locals what its name was. One of them answered in their own language, "I don't understand," and it sounded like kangaroo. And since then, this word has stuck to them as their name. This story is one of the versions of how people met this incredible creature. Have a good life, neighbors. With you the paranoid truth. Today we are gonna tell you everything we know about kangaroo. Are you interested? Then let's go.
Paranoid truth.
The kangaroo is the largest marsupial animal found in Australia. There are several species of kangaroos, the largest of which is the giant red kangaroo whose growth reaches 1.8 meters. How long they live in Australia isn't known exactly, but Europeans learned about it only in the middle of the 18th century when James Cook got there. The kangaroo differs from all the animals familiar to Europeans in appearance and its unusual way of moving by jumping. Kangaroo, like most animals in Australia, are marsupials. This means that their cubs, which are born underdeveloped, carried by the female kangaroo in a pouch formed by folds of skin on her stomach. But this isn't all the differences between the Australian kangaroo and other animals. Its peculiarity is the way it moves. Kangaroos move by jumping, almost the same way as grasshoppers or known to as jerboa. But the grasshopper is an insect and the jerboa is a small rodent, and for them it is acceptable. But for a large animal to move by making jumps, and quite large ones at that, it is unbelievable from the point of view of energy expenditure. After all, an adult kangaroo can jump up to 10 meters in length and almost 3 meters in height. What kind of strange it takes to launch a body weighing up to 80 kilograms. That's how much a giant kangaroo weighs. And in this unusual way, he can reach speeds of 60 kilometers an hour or more. But it's difficult for him to move backwards. His legs are simply not adapted for this. We have told you about one version of the origin of the name kangaroo, but there is another. It says that the word kangaroo in the language of one of the indigenous tribes of Australia is translated as this animal. There is no more reliable data on the origin of the name kangaroo. Externally, the kangaroo looks unusual for a European. Its upright stance, strong muscular hind legs, and short, usually bent front paws give it something of a boxer-like appearance. By the way, in normal life these animals also show boxing skills when fighting among themselves or defending themselves from enemies. They strike with their front paws, just like boxers do in a fight, so it's best not to make them angry, unless you want to miss a good two. Imagine the power of this monster's hind legs. It maybe could kill you with one punch. It's quite common for them to use their long hind legs as well. It's akin to Thai boxing. In order to land a particularly hard blow, he sits on his tail. If we consider that in Australia the largest land predator is the wild dog dingo, which in size can compare with the kangaroo, it becomes clear why the kangaroo has almost no enemies. Well, except for the crocodile, but there are hardly any crocodiles where kangaroos usually live. The kangaroo's home and only place where they live is Australia and some nearby islands: Bismarck Archipelago, West Guinea, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Tasmania and Kangaroo Island. Most kangaroos are found in Australia itself, but since the kangaroo family includes several species, their habitats vary. Large red kangaroos inhabit almost all of Australia, and only in the western deserts and northern rainforests are they very rare. Grey kangaroos have chosen to live in South Australia. Wallaroos or mountain kangaroos live in the mountainous regions of Australia. Wallabies or tree kangaroos live only in the state of Queensland and New Guinea. Tree kangaroos live only in forests in trees. Kangaroo rats are found almost everywhere in Australia and Tasmania. We mentioned that kangaroos are marsupials, and therefore they raise their offspring in a rather peculiar way. Kangaroos are born very small, not fully developed, and are not able to move or feed themselves. But this is compensated for by the fact that the female has a pouch on her stomach formed by a fold of skin. Here in this pouch the female places her tiny baby, and sometimes two, where they grow further, especially since the nipples through which he feeds are located there. All this time one or two underdeveloped cubs spend in the mother's pouch, tightly attached with their mouths to the nipples. Kangaroo mom masterfully manages the pouch with the help of muscles. For example, she can lock the cub in it in a moment of danger. The presence of the baby in the bag doesn't embarrass the mom, and she is free to jump on. By the way, the milk fed to the kangaroo cub changes its composition over time. While the baby is tiny, it contains special antibacterial components produced by the mother's body. As the baby grows, they disappear. All kangaroos are vegetarians and eat a variety of plant foods. These are usually tree fruits and grass, but some species eat insects or worms in addition to greens. Often they feed in the dark. Because of this, they are called crepuscular animals. These mammals are kept in packs. They are very cautious and don't come close to humans. However, there are known cases when furious kangaroos drowned animals and pounced on people. This happened during periods of famine, when the grass in the arid regions of Australia was cut off. Starvation is a very hard thing for them to endure. During such periods, kangaroos raid farmland and often enter the outskirts of towns and villages in the hope of getting something to eat, which they are quite successful. Kangaroos have a fairly long life expectancy. On average, they live 15 years, but there are cases when some live to 30 years. In general, there are about 50 species of these animals, but the most widespread of them are several. And traditionally, some interesting facts. If a newborn kangaroo doesn't manage to get into the pouch through its mother's fur, he is doomed, cause the mother is unable to lift the fallen baby. According to best estimates, there are about 50 million kangaroos in Australia. A mother kangaroo can throw a sick cub out of her pouch to produce a healthy offspring. And that is all. Remember, we are not responsible for any paranoia caused by our paranoid roof. With you were the paranoid roof. See you soon, neighbors.